Hello and welcome to Downforce Debrief, where today we are doing the podcast in person. I can even touch him. Look at this. This is huge. Me and GB are sat next to each other because we've been hanging out today. We watched the race together as well on my TV. And we're a bit less prepared because it's literally been like an hour since the race. But definitely an interesting race nonetheless in Saudi Arabia. George, race rating. Hit me with it.
5.5, just above Suzuka. It wasn't great.
Harsh.
It wasn't great. I'll justify it straight off the bat saying that at least in Suzuka, like I said before, we had gaps at the front that at least kept us kind of guessing until the end of the race because obviously no overtaking could happen there. It was better for overtaking than Suzuka, but ultimately we had the one-stop issue and tyres just not degrading and not really much happened, did it?
What if I was to tell you that nobody in the top six finished in the place they started in?
No, that definitely makes it. That's clickbait.
No, it's true. It's true.
No, but like that. I mean, fine, but it didn't make it an interesting race. You know, that didn't.
I don't know. I do agree. It wasn't a banger because it was another one stop. We know we don't like one stops. I think there was enough overtaking. There was a bit of strategy there, particularly obviously with Leclerc doing a different strategy, Norris sort of forcing a different strategy. It was all right. It was. I think I'd give it a very hesitant 6. So I think we're largely in agreement. Right. I just don't like the statement of it was similar to Japan. I think Japan was a real stinker. I think this was a lot better. This was a pretty typical F1 race these days. Certainly a typical one-stop F1 race.
Yeah, look, obviously the Turn 1 incident between Oscar and Max, I think, helped it clearly. And then we had the safety car, so there was a bit of spice added to it, a bit of controversy with Max's penalty, and yeah, that definitely did help the Grand Prix and gave us something to talk about. I think otherwise, you look at Piastri and how he managed the win in the end. It was never really in doubt, was it? I mean, we thought we might get a spicy fight with Lando and Charles at the end for the podium, and that didn't quite materialise. So I think it had potential to be a better rating in my books, but it just didn't quite hit those heights.
But we are lining them up in the order of speed. That's what qualifying is all about, right? Who's the fastest? That will pop you at the front. We shouldn't be expecting monumental battles for the win all the time and stuff because that's not how F1 really works. The only thing that would mix it up would be strategy. So I guess the tyres are everything, right? Because
yeah, but the thing is though, like when you look at qualifying, when you look at how exciting qualifying, and also Jeddah qualifying was brilliant as well. We had another good qualifying session. And that's because the cars are so close on pace. Generally speaking, they're so close on one lap pace, and it means that we get a real show. We're treated as viewers in qualifying, and then you're kind of hoping, please, kind of transfer to the race, and then you've obviously got a lot more things coming into play with a full tank of fuel and tyres and whatever else. So yeah, dirty air as well, big factor in this race. Sadly, I'm really surprised that we're in 2025. At this stage of this current generation of cars, where I believe the primary purpose was to kind of aid dirty air, staying close, overtaking that the previous generation suffered from, and it kind of feels like we've gone backwards a bit. Like we keep talking about it every race,
but that's just F1, isn't it? That's just classic F1. We're trying to make less dirty air, and they kind of succeed for a bit, and the teams keep developing, and the next thing you know, it's back to where you were a few years ago. It's just been happening in cycles. But you're right, it is disappointing because they did try really hard this time to make sure that dirty air wasn't so bad, and they clearly succeeded for a little while, but now we are pretty much back to almost like 2021 levels, not far off that really. Yeah. So, but we need to talk about Lando Norris. I'm going to click my fingers here. Lando Norris, here we go. This is the Lando.
You're going to only say nice things today, right?
Do you know what? He got driver. No, he didn't get driver of the day. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
He should have got driver of the day, and he was driver of the day, but not of the weekend. I mean, come on, what was that qualifying? Bro, it's lap 1 in Q3. Like, chill. Get a bang. You're in a McLaren. Get an average lap in. Drop half a second to what you should be. You're then guaranteed top 5 probably. Then go for it on the last lap. Don't be binning on lap 1 and start on P10. Like, he shouldn't be trying to scrape a podium in that car. Now, I've got to say, I don't think that car is as dominant as a lot of people say it is. You know, there's talk about them being a second lap quicker and stuff like that, like crazy. No, the race showed that that's just not the case. And qualifying shows that's just not the case as well. But they have got a small car advantage. They shouldn't be qualifying P10. Yeah. If you want to win a championship, you can't... Look, we can forgive one or two of those, I guess, across the whole season, but We keep coming back to it. We keep saying it. It's too many bottles. It was a good recovery, though, I have to say. Great drive from there. He got a bit baited, not quite the right word, by Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton took him to school a bit on the DRS games. He learnt a thing or two from Verstappen in 2021. But other than that, solid race. Like, he had a good strategy. Starting on the hard was the right decision. Decent recovery. P4. He would have wanted more. He allowed Oscar to lead the championship. But you just can't make those mistakes in quali. Tell me how good his qualifying was.
So I pulled up a few stats here that I found, and so far in 2025, the top 5 average qualifying positions of the championship, that is. So it's Oscar Piastri, 1.8. Average.
Wow.
Max Verstappen, 3.2, which, given the car, again, very impressive.
Yeah, but that's still lower than I thought it'd be, just because he's Max. But yeah, sorry,
fair. George Russell, 3.2, the same as Max.
Wow.
Lando Norris, 4.4. And
oh my God.
Charles Leclerc, 4.8. So Lando down 4.4 from Piastri, 1.8. I mean, look, obviously Jeddah's going to be dragging that down a lot, being P10, right? That's clearly going to drag that average down a lot. But still, like, it shows how consistent Piastri is, and also how many mistakes Lando's making, because qualifying's really been his undoing for the last 2 races in a row now.
Yeah,
I think it's last 2. So,
well, Japan he just about beat Lando, didn't he? But then obviously lost out to Max because he lost like 2/10 in the final corner, so it's still not great. But that we can't slay him for that because he's still P2. Like I said, this race, Jeddah, if he was top 3, you go, all right, he's bottled it a bit, but he's still top 3.
In Bahrain though, did Lando? Where did he qualify in Bahrain? I can't remember now. Was he? Don't know if he made a mistake there in Bahrain.
Our collective memory is quite impressive, actually. Yes, P6 in Bahrain.
Yeah, so back to back now, he's really struggled in quali, which then puts him on the back foot because he might have the best car on the grid, but if you don't do the work on Saturday, you don't put it where it needs to be on the grid, then you suddenly suffer dirty air problems and multiple other issues with drivers fighting you hard, or Lewis playing DRS games, or whatever it is. Like, you have these problems if you make those mistakes in qualifying. So I think the more this goes on, I feel like we're repeating ourselves each week at the moment. I do, your prediction of Piastri being champion this season is
my goat. First Australian championship leader in 15 years since his manager, Mark Webber.
Yeah.
He's now, was he 10 points clear in the championship, I think it was?
Yes.
10 points clear of Lando, 12 points clear of Max. Honestly, okay, I'm going to say one more thing on it. He take out that one mistake in Australia, and I know that's mistakes that exist, it's basically a perfect season other than that. Okay, It's not perfect because, you would beat your teammate every single race, etc. Like, fine, but that's just not realistic. It's a realistic perfect season is what he's having so far. We'll see. We'll see how the season evolves. I think he's impressed everybody. Not me, I've always been there for Oscar since day one. But I don't know. It's a great season. We'll see if we can keep it up. But we need to talk as well about turn 1 because that was probably the spiciest moment. Do you know what? It was really interesting. So obviously Max ended up getting a penalty for it, 5-second penalty. But what was interesting was, from Oscar's point of view, he's on board. It looked like, he was clearly ahead of the apex. But from Max's point of view, it looked like Max was ahead of the apex. It was really weird. I don't know how those identical moment from different onboard angles ended up looking so different. So I can see why Max was annoyed, but like Oscar said, Max, even if Oscar didn't exist, Max wasn't making that corner. He was half a car length behind going into the braking zone. He's braked way too late, trying to swoop on the outside. But Max knows what he's doing. Honestly, I don't.
You know what it was for me? The typical Max move of old, where he would get his car up the inside of sufficient, whether he's wheel to wheel or whatever, enough alongside on the inside of the corner to, by the FIA's ruling, claim that corner and make it his. And he would always do the stereotypical, well, that's my corner now, no room for you, bye-bye. And he would get the ruling in his favour because, by the book, that's his corner. And I almost felt like Piastri kind of was like, did exactly the same back to him. He just claimed the inside, got his car right alongside. I think he might have been slightly ahead at one point, and then Max braked later on the outside. And Piastri just whether he allowed his car to run deep and not allow room, or whether he literally just could not turn his car anymore because he braked so late, I'm not quite sure. But I loved it. I really did. It was nice to see that type of racing used against Max, and obviously Max's response, not very happy with it, fuming after the race as well, seemingly about the decision. About not being able to express himself as well. He just definitely seemed a bit salty after that. But I have to say, I completely agree with the decision. I thought it was weird how they gave that a 5-second penalty, but then the Liam Lawson one when he went deep, and I can't remember whether it was like Bortoletto or something he overtook, and then he kind of like went round that turn 2 curb and did technically cut the corner. Well, fair enough. But then I think the ruling was that he gained an unfair advantage and gave him a 10-second penalty. And I reacting to that together live, I was a bit baffled by that. I didn't really understand that. But
I think 10 is the new default, isn't it? It's just that I think they treated Max a bit more lightly because it was turn one, lap one.
Yeah.
So like I think that's probably what the difference was there. It's interesting though, because you always have the argument of, but if there was a wall there or if there was a gravel trap there.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, fair point. But there isn't. There was, and Max knows that going into that. So of course, but you're right, if there was a wall there, gravel trap there, he wouldn't have gone for it. And there is, I think it's important to look at it from that point of view to be able to kind of reframe it and be like, okay, yeah, I know, understand, so it allows you to see it in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, Max knew there wasn't. So I don't know. Honestly, I respect them both for going for it. Respect for Oscar, for fighting out with Max and coming out on top. Not a lot of drivers can do that. I know it was only one corner. What do you think would happen if that was Lando instead of Oscar?
In terms of the ruling? Or
no, not ruling. Just in terms of the on-track action. Do you think exact same? Do you think Lando would have given more room, less room?
I feel like Lando wouldn't have braked as late. I don't know. I feel like Piastri, particularly in the last few races, he's impressed me so much that he's just a ballsy driver. It just seems like just like I said, he reminds me of Max before. It's still how Max drives as well, but he just leaves it all on the limit. I feel like Lando is a bit more cautious. I feel like if it was role reverse, Lando goes down the inside, same good launch, whatever, and then stops his car a little bit earlier. That then allows Max to kind of brake later and maybe get more of his car alongside and turn in. So possibly a different outcome with Lando. We'll never know, and of course I don't want to say that Lando would just bottle that or whatever, but I would put my money on Piastri pulling off that move cleaner and better than Lando would based on driving styles.
I agree. I think Lando, I don't know, it either would have been the same or Lando would have given more room. I don't think Lando would have done anything more aggressive than that. It's interesting because I feel like I don't look at Piastri as an aggressive driver because he's so chill, isn't he? Like the radio always sounds like he's having a nap, and after race he's like, yeah, cheers guys. He's really chill but really likeable. But I don't know, I wouldn't say he's known as being aggressive either. There was a good move in Monza. I just think Lando's known for being a bit cautious at the start, should we say. So I think, yeah, you're right. Maybe he'd have raced just early enough that Max would have got alongside enough. And we're talking about, like half a metre? Maybe a metre at most.
Yeah.
And if Max got there, then you go, well, in which case Max was alongside enough to deserve room and he has been shoved off. And it's such fine margins. I think the result would have been the same. I think Lando's not given room, but if you just brake a metre too early, boom, Max comes out on top.
Were you surprised that when that happened, given the nature of that turn one, that Red Bull didn't make a call to Max to give the position back? Because we saw, I could be getting this wrong, but I think it was Bahrain, we saw a role reverse where it was McLaren getting on the radio to, I think, Lando. I think it was on Leclerc.
It was on Hamilton, I think, wasn't it?
Was
on
it?
The outside.
Okay, yeah. So in a previous race, and they were like, look, just give it back, not worth it. Drop back, we'll crack on. And that was the right decision because it didn't hamper him too much in the end.
Yeah.
But in the end, obviously, that then put Red Bull in a sticky situation where they had to then plan their pit stop carefully, and they ultimately lost out massively to Piastri anyway, where maybe Max could have had a chance of coming back at him after that. We'll never know. But were you surprised that Red Bull didn't step in?
Not really, because we know how Max and Red Bull love to play with the rules a lot. They will fight something, they'll fight the corner to the very end.
Yeah.
But other than that, I do feel like there was maybe a little bit harsher timing of the penalty because, there was half a lap there, green flag race in the first half. Then we had safety car. It was only about, 3 or 4 laps maybe. But then just before the safety car came in, they gave Max a penalty. But you're not supposed to overtake under the safety car. And we have seen it before where people give positions back and whatnot under the safety car. So he could have done it, but it's a bit dodgy to do it under the safety car.
Yeah.
I think I would have perhaps like to see in the FIA, stewards come to their decision, but don't announce it. Give him maybe 2 laps after the safety car and then announce it. Just to give him a chance to do the right thing, as you're saying, because he just didn't really get a chance. Because if you think about it, how is he going to communicate to Oscar, I'm going to give a position back? You pull over, you slow down a bit, but, Oscar's naturally going to hesitate. It's under a safety car. What are you doing? You are allowed to overtake under the safety car if the car in front's got a clear and obvious problem. So you could argue, okay, he's got a clear and obvious problem. But then the car behind, was it George Russell at the time, could then go, oh, well, he's got, and he could try and get him as well. It's just confusing. I think I'd like to see them wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I don't think Max would have given it back even then.
Yeah.
But the stewards just didn't really give him a chance to do so. But in the end, they were pretty lenient anyway. 5 seconds, he pulled that gap pretty quickly. He actually almost pulled that gap to Piastri. Piastri does seem to munch his tyres a bit on full fuel. That's not the first race this season. We've seen it in, was it Japan? When it was all over Lando and then just suddenly started fading back towards the end of the first stint. So we need to keep an eye on that one throughout this season. But
I feel like that is where Lando's got the edge over Oscar generally. I feel just from like paying close attention to deltas when they're racing, Lando does tend to take better care of his tyres. But again, that
only very slight now though. I think that was more pronounced at the start of last year.
Okay.
Now I feel like it's slight. It just seems to be that first stint. It's like the same thing happened in Japan. That first stint burnt its tyres a bit. Second stint completely fine with all over Lando the entire stint.
Right.
So I don't know if it's just maybe just the medium tyres or I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, it's an interesting one. But anyway, moving on then, of course, just a couple of corners later, we had the crash that caused the safety car. This was Gasly on Tsunoda. I feel like that was on Gasly. I don't think it deserves a penalty. I just think that was Gasly. So it was down turn 4, the corner you don't really want to be side by side in. They were alongside going into the corner, but Gasly was round the outside and slightly behind. He then massively outbrakes him and goes around the outside, but Tsunoda can't disappear. Like, Tsunoda's not expecting him to do that. And it's not like Tsunoda's launched in because he ultimately did leave room.
Yeah.
It's just that he was understeering because he was getting loads of dirty air, not only from the cars in front, but also from Gasly, who's right next to him now and robbing his car of almost all air. And he just understeered. Like, Tsunoda could do nothing else there. I just think that was not penalty worthy, just not smart by Gasly, launching around the outside. It's not a corner you want to do that. And I know Tsunoda's not as fast as Max, but he's doing it on a Red Bull. Even though Tsunoda's maybe not as quick as Max right now, do we think Gasly really could have brought the fight to Tsunoda over the course of that race? Was that a smart fight to pick? There was solid points on the table there for Gasly. He probably would have been ahead of both Williams, scoring more points for Alpine. He's having a great season, but
I mean, I'd argue with how dirty air is that if there's a car in front and you've got the momentum and there's a move there, go for it. I don't think I struggle to think of many situations, because you can argue with Hamilton with Lando when he was playing those games with DRS. I think it was ultimately costing Hamilton because he was having to compromise his turn 1 all the time and was losing a chunk of time on Antonelli at that point. But if it's there, go for it. If there's an opportunity, so I don't necessarily blame Gasly for that. Look, at the time of recording, we haven't seen any like FIA reports or anything published after the race. But do we know if there was any penalty? Do you know?
No, there wasn't investigated stuff. No, because
Okay.
it was a racing incident. I feel like I don't think that deserves any kind of penalty on either party. It was just because they both DNF'd, like racing incident, dumb incident for both.
I thought the opposite. I thought
Oh.
if you're Yuki in the Red Bull, I'm not necessarily saying it was Yuki's fault, but I'm more talking it from that approach of questioning: do you go for the move? Whatever. Do you defend that hard if you're Yuki? I mean, bless you.
Of course, I mean, if we were in virtual, I could have muted myself. No, can't do that. What's sat next to you? Brilliant. Have a little sneeze on the podcast. Why
Get all
not?
the glamorous noises.
Yeah.
So if I'm Yuki in a Red Bull and I know Yuki's been improving race on race, session on session, despite having the DNF, and to be fair, his results I don't think have been good at all, but you can clearly see that he's getting more confident in the car. He's dragging it to much higher than when Lawson was in it previously. And if I'm Yuki, I'm like, look, just give him a bit of space. Let's not squeeze him into turn 2, because I'm pretty sure Yuki did just shut that door and close the gap and
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I didn't see that bit.
Well, it looked like it. Again, I've not seen lots of replays myself, but it looked like kind of what you said. Gasly tried to go around the outside, perhaps too ambitious, but then Yuki kind of it did seem like he tried to just shut the door. And it's like, well, if you do that, then you're risking that. And you're risking that in a car which is good, is better than the Alpine. And also, surely you just want laps. You want to get time with the car. And that DNF on lap 1 has ultimately cost him an entire race without driving in the car. So just maybe not the smartest from Yuki. I was surprised that he kind of defended that hard.
I didn't see the corners before, but I just feel like most drivers with a bit of confidence, they don't give Gasly the chance to do that, right? You brake late enough, you squeeze them off if you have to, whatever. Just Yuki braked early enough that Gasly was able to get slightly ahead, so he literally couldn't do anything other than just turn and pray he was going to miss him. But I felt like most other drivers with their confident in the car just shove him off there. They just because he was ahead. It's not like he was behind Gas and Yuki was trying to send it. fundamentally he was ahead going into that braking zone. It's not a corner you send around the outside on the brakes unless you're already, a decent chunk ahead. So, I don't know. Well, I'll have to agree to disagree on that one. But you may be right about the previous corners. I didn't see those, so can't comment on those. But I think we want to talk about the Ferrari strategy, honestly, because Ferrari did a good strategy today. Am I? Sorry, I'm not tripping, am I?
Bahrain as well. I mean, safety car kind of ruined them in Bahrain, but before the safety car, this is 2 in a row now. Is this a new Ferrari?
Mad.
What's going on?
Absolutely mad. Fair play to. I mean, to be fair though, I think it was more Leclerc doing an unreal strategy because they did a one-stop medium hard, the same as everybody else. He just went like 10 laps longer than everybody else.
Yeah.
And I've checked the gap traces, and he wasn't really losing any time to Lando on hard tyres.
Yeah.
So that's unbelievable. I don't know what the hell Leclerc was doing with those tyres. All I can think is he was really... Because, you saw Piastri's tyres were dying before he pit. He needed to pit because he was falling back from Max. I don't know what the hell Charles was doing. Maybe he was just being really cautious first, didn't really saving the tyres. And then once they were half won, they were fine to push on a bit. I don't know. But whatever the hell Charles did, it worked unbelievably well. Fair play. Did he go to like lap 30 or 50 on mediums?
Yeah, I think he boxed on lap 30, I believe. Yeah, which is
mad,
unbelievable, and that's why he is my driver of the day. I thought, unbelievable on the first stint, and he just did not slow up at any point. His pace all the way to the end was really good. Very deservedly got a podium in a situation that, if we're being honest, if McLaren and Red Bull capitalise around him, obviously I know Yuki DNF'd, but should he be putting that Ferrari on the podium based on the pace of it? Probably not. But I would also say that, we were probably surprised at the pace of the car. I mean, Hamilton, for sure, compared to Leclerc, didn't have a great race, I suppose you could say, but then looking at his pace as well on that stint towards the end, they were doing well on the hard tyre, and Ferrari maybe are starting to understand their car a little bit, because it's such an interesting situation right now, because we've got Mercedes last week, rapid in Bahrain. Really surprised, I think, a lot of people when how quick they were. They weren't that far off McLaren. Russell able to hold off Lando. Today, complete opposite on tyres. They just fell off, and I almost felt like they were the 4th quickest team today, potentially. Ferrari, I feel like surprised a little bit, had a bit more pace than we perhaps imagined in the race. Red Bull as well, probably surprised. I'd say like Max really did, keep tabs on Piastri for pretty much the whole race, closing him down towards the end. So it's really interesting. I feel like every race we're getting different dynamics depending on the track and tyre situation. And I don't know about you, but I still don't understand, apart from McLaren being, the fastest at the top, I'm really struggling to place the others below, because it just seems every race we're getting a...
I think you're right. I think it's McLaren are top just about, with 2 very good drivers that are doing really well right now. Then you've got Max Verstappen.
Sorry, did you just say 2? So Lando's doing really well right now.
Well, he's second in the championship, so we can't be doing too badly. But you've not got the gaps you have in between like Leclerc and Hamilton, or Tsunoda and Max. So that's what I mean by that. And even Kimi, but Kimi's a rookie.
Yeah.
But anyway, so so you've got the McLaren at top. Then you've got Max Verstappen, not the team really. It's just Max Verstappen there, because he is, to me, still the
Max
best driver in
Verstappen
F1.
racing. Yeah.
Yeah, ridiculous. I don't think that car's that bad. I do think in this race it was the second best car.
Yeah.
But Max still being that close to Piastri, that's still Max Verstappen. But then behind that you've got a real mixture, whether that Red Bull is quite there or not, despite the Max Verstappen effect. Then you've got obviously Ferrari and Mercedes, which one of those is quicker. But you're right, it changes so much race to race. I think Ferrari did have a small upgrade in this race, but it's so... I mean, Bahrain was rear tyre temperature limited, so Mercedes were clearly able to work with that really well. Because in qualifying, Mercedes have genuinely got a really quick car. It just comes down to tyres in the race.
Yeah.
So Bahrain rear tyre temperature limited. They seem to be able to deal with that somehow with their car. Jeddah has to be front limited, and I guess temperature limited as well. I think I heard them say on the post show that Mercedes was struggling for tyre temps. So I guess they can manage their rear tyre temps, but not their front tyre temps, which I feel like was maybe the opposite last year. So I don't know, but it is a really interesting dynamic. And then you got Ferrari, who I don't know, feel like they're underperforming compared to expectations so far this year. They don't seem to have as fluctuating form as Mercedes, because Mercedes were really nowhere today. And once later in the stints, they lost so much time, especially in that second stint, they just were nowhere.
Yeah.
Ferrari just seemed to be sort of consistently, a bit off the top guys, and Mercedes are sometimes really there and sometimes they're behind Ferrari. I think it's mainly Mercedes that are jumping around, honestly. Red Bull are normally about second place.
Yeah, possibly Mercedes and Ferrari. I don't feel like I really understand the Ferrari. Like, one week I'm like, what's going on? They're miles off McLaren and they're miles off the rest. But then another week I'm like, oh, okay, they look pretty good here. And today was one of those days where a little bit topsy-turvy in the race, because at the start I felt like on the mediums, they, minus Leclerc obviously dragging those mediums on the extra length on the stint. Looking at Hamilton in particular, I was kind of looking at the other cars and thinking they don't look particularly special. But then on the, like I said, second half of the race, they seem to come alive. So I feel like I don't really understand Ferrari at the moment. Mercedes, as you said, seem to be... each race is going backwards and forwards for them. So it's an interesting dynamic with the teams. I do just want to bring up the tyres, because yet again, I feel like, I don't know if I'm missing something here in the data, but for me, Pirelli are messing up on multiple weekends with the compounds of tyres we're taking to races. I understand it must be hard for them to calculate which is the appropriate tyre for the circuit. And obviously with the nature of Jeddah, I think the fastest street circuit there is, you obviously don't want to bring tyres that are in danger of, I'd say, puncturing too easy. I go back to Baku a few years ago, whenever it was, where Max's tyre blew out on the long straight, that famous crash that we remember on the big straight at Baku. So you don't want to risk something like that at Jeddah, right? But I think we can all agree that they probably should have gone one stage softer from what they did, because you shouldn't have mediums doing over half the race distance on that kind of level of pace. They should be falling off a cliff, surely, once you're getting half race distance.
Yeah, I do agree, but I kind of feel for Pirelli, because like their mandate in F1 was to make 2-3 stops, make tyres that wear really quickly, yada yada yada. But then they get so much stick for it. Like people make jokes about how Pirelli tyres, they'll blow up, or Pirelli tyres they only last X laps or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of get stick for it. Whereas, like, they're probably going, well, we can build tyres that will be quick and last all race if we want to. But that's not the mandate from F1. But I feel like F1 aren't pushing that mandate because of the blowback they're getting by making the tyres that F1 are actually asking for.
Do you think as well, it's a good point. It makes me think, do you reckon that from a brand image marketing point of view, they don't want their tyres to be seen as blowing out on randomly like that? Because obviously they manufacture tyres in the real world for lots of other things, so maybe surely that must impact their sales in to some degree. Maybe that's deeping it a little bit too much, but I feel like maybe but does
the exposure outweigh that? Like Pirelli, I would tend to try and buy Pirelli tyres personally, just because I'm trying to support the people that support F1. That's what I do, but most people don't do it as specifically as that. But just generally, the exposure they're getting from this is quite big. Like, does that outweigh that? I don't know. What I will say is, I believe when Pirelli first got the tyre tender, I think Bridgestone were also going for it, but basically Bridgestone said, no, we're not going to make tyres that would, like, why would we do that? In the similar sort of vein to what you're saying, like, that would be bad for our reputation. We want our tyres to last as long as possible. That's what we want to do. Like, no, we will not make purposefully bad tyres effectively. But Pirelli, clearly at the time, were happy to do that. But maybe that was desperation to get the deal. I don't know. Maybe they're regretting it now. I've got no idea. But anyway, regardless, I do completely agree. I just think we keep saying it, but I think one stops need to be a special performance, not the norm. Mediums should not be doing more than half the race ever. Even hard tyres should struggle to do half the race, I think. Yeah. Like, if you've taken hards halfway, like, you've done an alright job there. If you've taken hards for 3/4 of the race, you've done an unbelievable job. That should be the basis. But it just seems like they were just, I mean, I was looking at the gap traces between the drivers, and there was no real deg. It was mad. Like, even Lando at the end there didn't really close down on Piastri much, and he went to mediums, like, what was it? I don't know, 15, 20 laps after Piastri, and he wasn't really closing him down. I think he caught him by a couple of seconds across that race. I know he was, didn't quite catch Leclerc. He had to overtake Russell. There's a few little extenuating circumstances there, but whereas in Bahrain, we saw, I think the undercut was worth about 2 seconds in one lap. But the undercut was massive there. Yeah, it was huge. We really enjoyed that race. That was much better. Well, I think me more so than you, but still. I don't know. I just think they need to, I do agree, it's a difficult balance to have. Asking a tyre manufacturer to make purposely bad tyres, they get a lot of stick.
Yeah.
I guess the only solution would be to F1 to be more public with it, but I just don't think it helps. Like, if everyone to come out and publicly say, Pirelli, please make us...
Just call them out.
No, not call them out, but just say, Pirelli, please make us tyres that wear more, really public, so that when Pirelli make bad, inverted commas, tyres, then everyone goes, well, we can see that F1 called that out, but I just think to the average Joe, they won't see that F1 announcement asking for that in public. And
I don't think it's very professional as well. I'm not sure. I don't know.
It's not, you're not calling them out. You just say new deal announced with Pirelli to make, more pit stops and more exciting races by making less durable tyres. You announce it like that rather than being like, we're calling you out because we want something different to what you're providing.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
One more thing on the Ferrari strategy. Can we just appreciate thank you, Brian? Thank you, Brian was fantastic.
Yes.
What was it? Oh, well done, Charles.
Yeah, he goes, well done, Charles, and he goes, thank you, Brian. like a robotic monotone.
Again, we're recording this like an hour after the race. That's got to be a meme, surely. Thank you, Brian. I feel like we're probably going to use that in our content.
Yeah.
Like if someone says something, thank you, Brian. It's got to become a thing. That was so good. Incredible. It should, if it's not a meme by now, it should be a meme by now. Maybe we've got to make it a meme right here. That's the plan.
What was it for again? Was it like an overtake that he did or something? I can't remember what stage of the race.
It was overtaking George, wasn't it? Because he got him pretty much straight away.
Yeah.
And he went, well done, Charles. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. That was brilliant.
Weird. And do you know what? I love that kind of personality stuff. I feel like, I don't know, personally, I feel like certain personalities kind of rub me the wrong way a bit for some reason. But that sort of thing I love because it's like, it doesn't feel like he's doing it for the cameras. It doesn't feel like he's doing it to be popular or doing it to generate memes or it's just him being him. And it just happens to be funny, which I think is why people love Charles. They love him because he's like cute and all these things. Like, he's very popular with the girls and stuff. Like, I think that's why, because he is just being himself, but he is quite silly and it's just why he's popular, isn't
Any chance of bringing personality out. I mean, we were watching obviously with our girlfriends and all of us burst out in laughter when that happens. Like, casual fans, hardcore fans, everyone wants to see that kind of personality come out over the radio on track, 100%.
And moving a little bit more down the order, Lewis Hamilton, yes, didn't have a great race compared to Charles, but I feel like he's racing much more aggressively in this Ferrari. I don't know, you literally said during the race, again, we watched it together, you said during the race, Hamilton will pretty much just let him through, like he won't fight him, because that's just what Hamilton does. And that is not what we saw.
No.
He literally, Lando took 2 or 3 laps to get him. Hamilton was playing some DRS games, he was sending it, like, mad. Fair play to him.
There was another point in the race, I think, when, who was it? I think it was Piastri getting past him later on in the race, where I think you were like, Hamilton will fight this, and I was like, nah, he's going to yield, and he did, and he just breezed past, and it was relatively easy. Whether Hamilton just had no answer, I don't know, but I wondered whether he fought Lando that hard and played those games. Obviously, legally, he wasn't like breaking or anything silly, but clearly playing a bit of DRS games. I wonder whether it was just to benefit his teammate being up the road and to help him on track, because ultimately, what was the gap to Lando and Charles finished very close, didn't they?
Really good point.
When you think about that, I mean, how many laps did that go on for? 2, 3? It wasn't a massive amount, but if that cost Lando a few seconds, which I'm sure it did, then you never know. That could have been the difference. So.
You're right. I did think about that at the time. I thought Charles not too far up the road. He's probably doing it to help Charles more than himself. But you're right. With how close they end up being on track, that may have been the difference. Been Ferrari getting their first Grand Prix podium of the season.
Yeah, exactly. But Hamilton still did it, so credit to him. Like, he still fought it hard. I really liked one of them where he was on the outside of Lando. He had the run going to turn 1. He was clearly ahead, but he kind of went diagonally into the corner, kept his wheel straight and broke diagonally in. So he basically got a bad turn 1 and 2 exit, but he just made sure that he claimed that corner and was ahead. I really liked it. It was really firm, aggressive driving, which is nice to see, because Hamilton, obviously in his last year at Mercedes, very kind of submissive and
submissive.
He
was the sub.
He was though, wasn't he? He kind of didn't really fight much. He just accepted his fate in that season.
But it's weird, isn't it? Because like Hamilton in his first part of his career was known for the aggression, like making some amazing overtakes that no one else was really making at the time, and but then obviously got a dominant car, and we've talked about this before, but became really passive because he didn't need to be aggressive, and then never seemed to regain that aggression. I just thought that was an age thing and also a learned thing at the time at Mercedes. But this isn't the first time that he's been a bit more aggressive in that Ferrari. I don't know whether that's the car itself. He's more confident to be a bit more aggressive, possibly, or if it is just a reinvigorated Lewis Hamilton. He was saying, like, I'm maybe old. I don't think this is an exact quote. I may be old, But, I'm excited for this new chapter. I want to go for it. And although the pace isn't quite there compared to Leclerc, he is clearly showing he is a different driver at the moment. And I got to say, though, I think we've got to start judging Lewis Hamilton compared to Leclerc. I have been overall impressed with him this season, but we're now starting to see the drivers who swap teams, they're now starting to get kind of more comfortable with their car and start to be more on top of it. Williams, we'll talk about Williams a bit more with the DRS stuff, but just for now, just talking a bit more about drivers adapting. Carlos Sainz, he's now I think he out-qualified Albon the last 2 races, is that right? Or at least twice this season, I'm not sure. But obviously, literally helped Albon today get the points that they got. Fair play to them. Again, we'll talk about that in a second because I want to talk about that quite a bit. But so he's now on top of that Williams, he's learnt it. And we're seeing, just generally performances now start to the gaps narrow. And Hamilton, I feel like we need to start judging him a little bit. Not quite yet. I'm going to give him this last race. That even though the gap was over 30 seconds, I want to allow it. Next race though, because there's now a 2-week gap. Next race, I think we need to start going. Do you know what, Lewis? 30 seconds to Leclerc is not good enough. Because at the end of the day, I think rather than compare him to Leclerc, we should more compare him to what Sainz would have done in the same seat, because that's at the end of the day who replaced.
Yes.
Would Sainz have finished Jeddah 30 seconds behind Leclerc? Almost certainly not.
I completely agree on this point. I read a tweet about this earlier that was effectively saying the same thing about how, if we're judging Yuki so harshly in the second Red Bull seat with such a limited amount of time, we have to be. He's a 7-time world champion. He's statistically the greatest driver of all time. Surely he has to be judged at some point against his teammate and against the delta of what his car is capable of. So, I completely agree. Obviously, no one would argue that he hasn't underperformed so far. We'll see. I completely agree. I think he's going to be under pressure if he keeps performing the way he is. But I would also say he's putting that pressure on himself as well. Like in interviews, he's been pretty critical of himself. He's been oddly downbeat as well up until fairly recently. There's definitely been flashes of moments in races where he seems to be understanding the car a little bit better. But I always feel like he kind of gets to that stage later in the race. I don't know about you, but I feel like Bahrain was a similar thing where he. Did he have a good comeback drive in Bahrain? Maybe he had a good comeback drive.
He did alright in Bahrain, but then when they went to the hards late on, he just seemed to fade off a bit more. Well, the gap wasn't massive, to be fair, but he was fading. It always
feels like he goes into a weekend way on the back foot, does bad in qualifying, and then in the race, it's kind of like he gains a bit of that time back and there's less of a gap to Charles. But then, just like Lando versus Piastri, if you create that gap in quali, you've got a problem in the race.
It's interesting though, because you say he kind of goes bad in quali and stuff. I actually feel like Hamilton, of the experienced drivers that move teams, and maybe of the rookies, I feel like Hamilton started closer to Leclerc than most people did, the ones that move teams. I think he did better at the start of the season. He was getting stick for, why doesn't he know the safety car procedure and all this other stuff. But I think I was impressed in the first part of the season. But now we're getting to race 5. Sainz is starting to be as good, if not better, than Albon. Hamilton hasn't really made any progress, which is quite weird. He's making noises in Bahrain, I think I found something, and then just didn't materialise in Jeddah. So, bit of a weird one, really, because like I said, I've been impressed with him so far this seaon, but now it's starting to get to the point where we're going to have to judge him. So, Miami next time out, Lewis, I'm coming for you. I'm going to be judging you then. No pressure. But Alex Gillen is going to be judging you.
Trembling at the thought of your judgment.
Well, I'm just trying to think of Hamilton tracks. Canada springs to mind as a track that Hamilton's always been incredible at, and that's quite a few races away. But I feel like if Leclerc beats Hamilton in Canada, I think we might be able to call Hamilton washed. I'm just going to put that out there straight away.
Go for those clickbait headlines. Let's do it on there.
So, 2 more things to talk about. First of which, as I said before, is Williams' DRS strategy. This was so smart, right? Let's be clear. They gained, I think they overtook, was it Alpine in the Constructors' Championship by doing this? So, not insignificant points. Yes. Oh, Haas. Alpine are only 9th in championship still, despite how well Gaz has been in the last couple of races. That's a surprise. Anyway, Williams just took 5th place after Jeddah. They overtook Haas. They're now 5 points clear of Haas.
Okay.
So best of the rest effectively in the championship. And that was mainly because of their very smart DRS tactics. They finished 8th and 9th, which netted them 6 points. Carlos Sainz seemed to have the better pace, and he was just basically giving Albon DRS so that Hadjar couldn't attack him. Okay, arguably it was also protecting himself, but smart team games, they ended up finishing best of the rest in Jeddah. Were you impressed by this? I was very impressed by this.
Massively. I mean, we were obviously almost commentating on it at the time that you could see it unfolding. You could see that So I think James Vowles had the interview live, at least with F1 TV, where he was saying that they were going to try and help I don't know if it's James Vowles, but they were going to use Sainz to drop back and give Albon the DRS. And I guess to explain for any viewers or listeners that the point of doing that is Hadjar being on fresher medium tyres, clearly way more pace through the corners. Albon had no chance against that. He almost definitely would have been overtaken.
Yeah.
And you could see Hadjar was being quite aggressive as well. He kept having a look. But thanks to Sainz giving that DRS, plus the dirty air that Hadjar got as well, meant that he had no advantage on the straight, and then his grippier, better tyres in the corners were nerfed from the dirty air. So really, really clever. And I wonder if we're going to see more of that in future races, because other teams surely have to look at this as if our drivers are close on track at some point, we need to try and work together like this, because dirty air is really nerfing cars right now. So I hope we see more strategic battles like that, because that gave a bit of excitement at the end of the race. And it was really, I remember saying to you at the time, I reckon Hadjar's going to go for a bit of a send here. I reckon he's going to launch one, because maybe he's going to get a bit frustrated, because you knew he wasn't going to get anywhere on the straight. So really smart, well-deserved 6 points from Williams. And I think otherwise, Sainz possibly does get overtaken by Hadjar as well. So what is the difference there? Like 3 points instead of 6, I believe. So yeah, massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
Well, I mean, 3 points, is that massive? I know it's Williams, but
3 points is. I don't think you can underrate 3 points.
I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it, but massive is maybe a bit big. But it was really smart. And what I love about this is that that's perfect team play. We don't always see perfect team play, but in these sort of lower teams, like you said, these points are big for them. So it's really important they work together. And I love to see that Sainz was happy to effectively sacrifice his race a little bit. Like in the end, obviously there was no more result available, so fine. But you're willing to compromise himself, slow himself down literally to help his teammate, because they both know the team comes first.
Yeah.
And you don't always see that. You mainly don't see that either if they're fighting for a championship. You might see McLaren get a bit spicy later this season, or sometimes if a driver's future is in jeopardy, or sometimes if they're just not a very
nice guy.
Yes, that. But clearly these guys, they're comfortable where they are. They know they're fairly highly rated drivers. They know they're there for the team. They're not there for themselves.
Yeah.
They're there for the team, and it was amazing to see. I really enjoyed it.
Also, I do honourable mention as well, but randomly, but on this topic of, I also read that Yuki in Q3 gave a tow to Max on the start-finish straight on his final run, which gained him 86 thousandths of a second, and he got pole by 10 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, he gained almost
10. So I think that kind of went under the radar. I saw that posted, and again goes on off the back of what you're saying. Selfless teammates. That's the kind of result you get. You put your teammate on pole, and
True.
Arguably Max should have won the race. Got driver of the day instead. Not sure about that one.
Oh yes, actually, we need to talk about that.
Yeah.
What is that? This must, because there's been a few slightly weird driver of the day results so far this season.
I feel like the fans are just trying to troll us all.
Literally, I think they must be memeing. They have to be, right, because it must be Dutch fans that have got together, not happy about the penalty, and they've gone, let's all vote for Max just because it's funny. Because there's no way that Max was driver of the day. He he started pole, he finished P2. Don't get wrong, it was a good race by Max.
Yeah, he didn't do
much
badly.
wrong.
Yeah,
but that wasn't driver of the day. No way.
It was literally his mistake that cost him the win. Him making that action. He got a bad launch firstly, putting Piastri alongside, and then making the action gave him the penalty, cost him the position, cost him the win. Simple as that. I mean, obviously question marks whether Piastri would have got him anyway without the penalty, but with dirty air, with the pace of Max in that race, you could definitely argue that he might have held off Piastri. So very, very weird decision. I think he had 21% of the votes or something. I'd be interested to see what the split was further back, because I was amazed that Lando is very popular, as we know, and he did drive a good race, minus the fact that he couldn't get Leclerc at the ends. Yes, I know he's got a good car, but he still climbed 6 positions. So I was surprised that Lando didn't get it, but for me, like I said before, Leclerc was mine.
Yeah, I think Lando and Leclerc are both good. Honestly, even someone like Sainz for playing the team game so well, a bit of a weird one, but even that would make more sense than
That's fair. Yeah.
I don't know. I do feel. I wonder if there is almost a bot farm type thing going on here or something. Do you
Elon
think
Musk sending in the bots?
But seriously though, because I don't believe that enough people just straight up voted for Max out of genuinely believing it was Max. That can't be a thing. 21% of people can't think Max was genuinely the best driver today. That's surely not a thing.
Well, let us know. 21% of people watching listen. Was that you?
So then you go, okay. So then it's maybe a forum somewhere, like I don't know if maybe Max has got a subreddit or you know what I mean, something like that. A big group of people could get together. But even then, it just doesn't feel like it would be enough to overcome F1's driver of the day, because it's not like a niche thing. They put it on the race. They remind you every few laps, like it closes in X number of laps. I personally voted it, and I think most people who watch don't, so fine. But still, it doesn't feel like the sort of thing that people could get to group together and do too easy. So I genuinely wonder if there is some sort of bot farm out there which someone's got control of and is genuinely, because this isn't the first race we've seen a weird driver of the day. There's been no crazy ones where like Bortoletto's got it and he's finished last or something. That would be clearly trolling. There's been no mental ones, but there's definitely been some weird ones. So I don't know.
Antonelli as well, China. That was one that jumps out.
Yeah, and Hamilton got it as well in, was it Bahrain or somewhere? I think Hamilton got one at one point, which felt a little bit strange. It was like he had a decent race, but not like...
I think it was Hamilton Bahrain last race. Yeah.
So, bit weird, but anyway, who knows? There's a little conspiracy theory for you. But one final talking point I've got for you today, and that's that I actually forced George today to listen to the F1 TV commentary. We've spoken previously about George will normally listen to the Sky commentary. I listened to the Sky commentary when Martin Brundle was on. Martin Brundle was on this weekend, but I said, George, as you're here, shall we try the F1 TV commentary? And he was like, actually, yeah, you were genuinely really keen for it. And we did. So what did you think of it? How did it compare to Crofty and what would normally be Brundle?
I think I'd probably in the special moments, so like the lights out and away we go, the iconic moments, the start. Let's be honest, the race start was the best moment of the race. I probably did miss Crofty in those moments just for the hype, for the iconic lines that we all know. But overall, in terms of substance and the quality of coverage, and I know you highlighted Jolyon Palmer. I've not really listened to his insight before, but I did enjoy a lot of the analysis he provided, and obviously experience as an ex-driver. I prefer it. Yes, hands out.
Really?
I'd say as a whole package, I prefer F1 TV commentary over Sky. But if you give me Crofty and Brundle in like the iconic moments, and there's something special about them. Kind of, as much as Alex Jakes is brilliant, and I do enjoy his commentary, just the iconic duo of Crofty and Brundle with things like the lights out, and if there's kind of big spicy moments, I don't know what it is about them, because it's not exactly what they're saying that makes it good, but sometimes you get those goosebumps commentary moments when they just deliver it right, they hit the right spot.
I mean, obviously, Through Goes Hamilton was probably his most memorable and greatest moment. So, I think I agree. It's interesting because I overthink about this stuff because I've got a choice. I can listen to Sky or F1 TV.
Yeah.
You normally have only really got the choice of Sky, so like you don't think about it. So normally I'm overanalyzing when I'm listening to F1 TV commentary. I'm going, should I put on the Sky or vice versa? As I said, normally when Martin Brundle's on, I listen to that because I love Brundle. I think he's fantastic. I think he's almost, I was going to say almost like Murray Walker levels. I'm a little bit young for Murray Walker stuff, but I don't think he's Murray Walker levels. But I do like his little Martin Brundleisms, the things you see, a day late, a dollar short, all these sort of things. I do quite like all that stuff.
In F1 fans, there's a bit of a mix sometimes with Crofty and how he commentates, but I find there's no one's ever split with Brundle. Everyone loves him. So
I don't know. I have seen a few comments against him. It's not universal,
really?
But most people do love Brundle. Yeah. So, but my point is today, because we agreed we were going to watch F1 TV because it was for you to experience it. I didn't overthink it today.
Yeah.
And actually, I got to the end and thought, do you know what? I didn't notice it. I didn't notice any mistakes. I didn't notice any issues. Didn't notice any annoyances. There was nothing at all.
You got your driver pronounced right as well.
I did. We didn't get Hadja the Badger today, which was quite nice. But you are right. There wasn't any memorable Alex Jakes moments. But equally, I don't feel like it was like you get sometimes Crofty does it sometimes where they're looking at something else and there's an amazing overtake happening and they're ignoring it. This does happen. I don't remember anything like that happening either. So it's like, I feel like with Alex Jakes, you get like a commentator that's almost as good as Crofty, but on average is like about the same because Crofty has better highlights but worse lowlights. Does that make sense? Alex Jakes is somewhere in the middle. He doesn't make the mistakes. Doesn't have the issues.
That's a very good way of saying. Yeah, I would say as a first experience of a full race through, I'd probably say that's a good way to summarise it. Yeah, I enjoyed the race as a whole with the F1 TV guys, but if I could have the perfect mix, I'd have the Sky Sports highs with Crofty and Brundle, and then the analysis and the rest of it from Alex Jakes and the rest. So
I want to be clear though, I really like Alex Jakes. I do think he could easily replace Crofty, and I think most people wouldn't be too upset. I think he's a fantastic commentator. You're right. There's just something about there's just the odd goosebump moment you get with Crofty. There's just something about with maybe the way he speaks or the tone of his voice. It's almost intangible to us, but there is something there that makes it special. And to me, that's the only thing he does better. Other than that, I think Alex Jakes is fantastic across the board.
Yeah.
And Julian Palmer's analysis, I think, is fantastic. I do like Brundle's as well. But Brundle is just that much older now, different generation. Julian Palmer being younger, I think provides some really genuinely good insight that's fantastic. DC, David Coulthard, I'm not actually a massive fan of. I don't know if you really noticed it. I don't know. The only thing, do you remember I highlighted during the race? He said something stupid and I went, oh, cheers, David. Well, I can't remember what he said now. There was something that was almost
it was on about the gap from Verstappen to Piastri. He was like, oh, it's like 4.6 and now it's 4.6.
Yeah,
something like that.
He's like, oh, 5 laps ago it's 4.6 and now it's 4.6. And I was like, yep, cheers, David. Like, I think that I've struggled to put into words what it is I don't quite like about DC on the commentary, but I think that sort of thing is it. And it's not even mistakes, it's just certain things he says. I'm like, why are you saying that? Like, what is that?
I like him. I do like him because for me, I used to watch David Coulthard a lot, obviously back in the Channel 4 public TV days.
Yeah, and I liked him then.
Yeah, so I really like him on comms. I think what you're referring to there is he's just very cliche sometimes as well. Those moments he can kind of state the obvious, fine, use some Will Buxton isms. But he does come in with the old cliche sometimes, which you're a bit like, yeah, whatever. But I feel like he does provide good analysis. He's an ex-driver as well, and I almost feel similar to him that I do with Rosberg, where Rosberg might not communicate himself as well as Coulthard, because Coulthard's obviously got a lot of experience in this environment, but Rosberg provides that analysis on a similar level to Coulthard, which as ex-drivers, I love listening to that level of detail, and I know a lot of F1 fans do as well. You know, you want those people there to provide the real like nitty-gritty details that Palmer and these guys can as well. So for me, Coulthard's a big positive. Like I wouldn't want to. I don't know who you'd replace him with.
Well, do you know what? What you just said there somehow made me realise what it is. It's because Julian Palmer is an ex-driver. Coulthard, also ex-driver. Yeah. You've got two people doing the same thing there in the commentary box. I think Julian Palmer is excellent. So I think he ticks that box perfectly. So then DC is just a less good version in my mind in terms of commentary of Julian Palmer. So then like I think you'd want like an ex-team owner or do you know what I mean? Like someone a bit different or a manager.
Günther Steiner.
Yeah, like maybe. But like I don't know. Like Sky has the strategist, right? Is it Bernie Collins?
Yes, love Bernie.
She's amazing. So perfect example of the sort of person you'd probably want in. Get a Bernie Collins on or someone, and then that commentary team then is amazing. Again, I don't hate DC. He didn't other than that weird comment. He didn't rub me the wrong way today at all. But I think it's because he's doing the same job as Julian Palmer, just doing it a bit worse, in my opinion. I think that's what it is. They just need to get someone slightly different in that role. I think DC would work better as you said, as a co-host. I feel like having Laura, I'd actually really like Laura Winter as the presenter of the show. And then I think Alex Brundle is also excellent. I think he's also an excellent commentator. I think they work well. Maybe put DC on that team, and then put someone like Bernie Collins, I feel like, on the commentary team, and then you've got a world-class
I forgot about that on because she's Sky, right? She's
Bernie Collins, yeah.
Yeah, so I absolutely love her insight. Obviously, she's ex-McLaren, I think, strategy.
Aston Martin, is she?
Is she?
Don't know. Shall I Google it? Go on, you keep talking.
I'm gonna stick with my guns and say McLaren. But anyway, she like extra strategy, whatever the actual role title is.
Our team, yeah.
yeah.
Aston Martin, it's your team, mate. Come on.
Should have known that. Contracts in the bin now.
Yeah, we've defended them for weeks and weeks, and now finally that's the final straw.
But no, like Bernie Collins is amazing. Like the amount of times she chimes in with like something will be said by Crofty, and then she'll come in and be like, oh well, actually, you know, they're probably thinking about doing this for for this kind of tyre nature or behaviour or whatever. She'll provide some real insightful stuff that the strategy team will be thinking of that we might not be, and it's brilliant. She adds so much value, and that's a fair point. But I would say that I didn't notice that today. I think now you're saying it, yeah, maybe I would like that kind of main commentator analysis insight role, and then ex-driver / expert on the driving side. That combination on paper sounds really good, but I wouldn't say I noticed that lacking today.
Yeah, I do agree. I didn't notice it lacked, but yeah, I feel like Bernie Collins is like the best new addition to the Sky team.
Yeah, hands down.
Like, full stop.
Yeah.
Because Crofty's good, but he's been there forever. Brundle's excellent. He's also been there forever. Like, all those guys have been there forever. There's been a few, Karun hasn't been there forever. So I do like Karun a lot, but I think Bernie is a much better addition than Karun is.
Close seconds, Danica Patrick, very, very good.
Yeah?
No.
Trolling? Thought you were. I wanted you to go and see tell that and be like, yeah, this is why.
Yeah,
we can really get clicked. Yeah, you didn't. You couldn't last longer than like a second. That was terrible. A terrible attempt to clickbait by GB there. Must do better next time, mate. Just think about me and Norris, and then you got your clickbait sorted. But anyway, guys, that has been Downforce Debrief for today. A bit of an in-person one today. So apologies if the sound quality has been a little bit worse. We're obviously not really set up for in-person. Maybe one day. At the moment, we do actually make a loss on the podcast. We have to pay to host it. So not really got the funds right now for in-person stuff. But hey, thank you guys for supporting, because it is growing very nicely, and it's definitely been, me and George have enjoyed doing it, and it's been very worthwhile. You guys have been warming to it. We love seeing your comments and stuff, and seeing the debate under the videos. And don't forget to drop us a follow, guys, if you're watching on YouTube or listening on any of the platforms, Apple Music, is it? Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon, whatever it is, all the good platforms,
all the musics.
Guys. all the musics. We are all the music you need. We are music to your ears. But anyway, guys, we'll catch you next time.
Beautiful.